Welcome back, coin lovers and treasure seekers. Today we're diving deep into one of the most talked about modern U.S. coins, the 1966 Washington quarter. Many people believe that a 1966 quarter can be worth massive amounts of money, even as much as $1.3 million. But what's the truth behind that claim? Join me as we explore the history, the real value, and the surprising stories behind this seemingly ordinary quarter. History of the Washington Quarter. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design features a portrait of Washington on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. This design remained the standard for decades with only minor alterations over the years. By the mid-1960s, the United States was facing rising silver prices. Up until 1964, all quarters were made from 90% silver. But beginning in 1965, the U.S. Mint removed silver entirely from quarters due to cost pressures. The 1966 quarter, like all quarters from 1965 to 1967, has no mint mark and is made of a copper-nickel clad composition. This means it's composed of layers of copper and nickel bonded together, rather than the older silver content that many collectors seek. Because this change was new, collectors were cautious and curious, but over 820 million 1966 quarters were produced, making it one of the most common quarters in existence. Cointrackers.com. Why 1966 coins have no mint mark? You might notice that 1966 quarters lack the usual P, D, or S mint marks. That wasn't a mistake, it was intentional. During 1965 to 1967, the U.S. Mint removed mint marks to discourage coin hoarding by collectors during a time of coin shortages. This makes all 1966 quarters look identical from a mint identity standpoint, but doesn't make them rare. Coins value. Common values versus rare cases. So what is a 1966 Washington quarter worth? In circulated condition, most are only worth their face value of 25 cents. Many worn coins that have been in circulation for decades still trade for roughly 25 cents to a few dollars at most. But condition matters a lot. If you have a coin that shows very little wear, collectors may pay more, sometimes significantly more. Cointrackers.com, for example, a 1966 quarter in uncirculated condition graded MS-63 might sell for a couple dollars or more. Higher graded coins push into the hundreds, and the absolutely finest known specimens, graded MS-68 or better by professional grading services, have sold at major auctions for over $20,000. These top-quality coins are incredibly hard to find because out of hundreds of millions struck, only a tiny fraction remain in near-perfect condition decades later. U.S. coins value +1. There have also been error and specialty issues that attract collectors, such as double die varieties or SMS, special mint set, quarters with particular finishes. These can be worth more than typical examples, but none approach the kind of values seen with extremely old or ultra-rare coins. CoinValueChecker.com. The $1.3 million myth. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. You may have seen videos or articles claiming someone sold a 1966 Washington quarter for as much as $1.3 million. Here's the reality. There is no verified record of a 1966 quarter ever selling for that kind of money at a credible auction house. The highest documented auction sales for 1966 quarters are around the $20,000 range for perfect, top-graded examples. Any claim that a 1966 quarter sold for $1.3 million is either misinformation or a misunderstanding. Scrutinize auction records carefully and rely on trusted grading and auction houses when evaluating claims about high-value coins. U.S. coins value. What makes a coin valuable? Even though a 1966 quarter won't make you a millionaire, coins are still fascinating collectibles. A coin's value depends on several key factors. First is condition. Coins in mint state with sharp details and original luster are much more valuable than worn coins. Next are rarities and errors. Mistakes during minting can create unique collector's items. Finally, Grading by professional services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate and certify a coin's condition, which often boosts value at auction. How to check your coin if you find a 1966 quarter in your pocket change. Don't expect to retire on it. But if you think it's uncirculated, clean it gently with your eyes rather than chemicals, and consider having it professionally graded. A simple visual inspection isn't always enough to identify high-grade or rare error coins. Conclusion: the 1966 Washington quarter is a piece of American coinage history. It represents a shift in composition, a change in minting philosophy, and a fascinating era in mid-20th century numismatics. While most are worth exactly what their face value says, a few exceptional specimens can sell for thousands at auction. But the idea of a 1966 quarter selling for $1.3 million belongs more to myth than fact. So, if you've got a coin jar, go dig through it. You might find something valuable, and at the very least, you'll uncover a bit of history in your hands. Would you like a shorter scripted version or a video thumbnail/title suggestion to go with this script? Welcome back to the channel, coin fans and treasure hunters. Today we're talking about one of the most talked about modern U.S. coins out there, the 1990 Washington quarter. People hear stories online about this everyday coin being worth huge sums of money, sometimes even claims of a value as high as $1.2 million. But what's real and what's myth? In this video, we'll explore the history of the 1990 quarter, what makes some examples collectible, and what you should really expect if you find one in your pocket change. History and background: the Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932, first created to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, it features the first president on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. This classic design lasted for decades. Long before the state quarters or America, the beautiful series changed the look of U.S. quarters. By 1990, the Washington quarter was firmly established as everyday currency. That year, the U.S. Mint produced coins at 3 facilities. The Philadelphia Mint struck most of them with over 613 million coins. The Denver Mint produced an even greater number with over 927 million coins. The San Francisco Mint struck a much smaller group of proof coins, just over 3 million, intended for collectors rather than circulation. The composition of all these coins is the modern copper-nickel clad that has been standard for quarters since 1965, meaning there is no silver content in these coins. This means melt value plays virtually no role in their worth today. Unless a coin is genuinely rare or in special condition, it's fundamentally a 25-cent piece. Coins value: +1 circulated coins and common value. If you find a 1990 Washington quarter in your change or in an old drawer, the vast majority of the time it's worth exactly what it says on the coin, 25 cents. That's because billions of these quarters were made for everyday use, and most have been worn down by decades of circulation. Even quarters in decent shape that have signs of wear are typically valued around face value and don't attract serious collector interest. Coins value: uncirculated and high-grade coins. Here's where things get interesting. Coins that have never been used in circulation and still have original luster can be far more valuable to collectors. These are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC on a scale where Mint State 63 is not bad and Mint State 67 or better is exceptionally rare for a modern clad quarter. A 1990 quarter graded MS 67, one of the highest standards for this issue, has sold at auction for well over $1,000. One example, graded MS 67 from the Philadelphia Mint, sold for over $1,500. A similar MS 67 Plus from Denver brought more than $1,400 at auction. These high-grade coins are extremely scarce because most examples were used and worn long ago. Coins value: +1 proof coins from the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S, were struck for collectors and tend to look nicer with more mirror-like surfaces. Even so, typical proof coins from 1990 are worth only a few dollars unless they show a rare variety or receive a top-notch grade. Cointrackers.com are coins and rare varieties. There are also error coins and die varieties that attract collectors. One well-known variety is the double die obverse proof found on some 1990s quarters. A truly exceptional example of this variety in the rare PR70 deep cameo grade can fetch thousands of dollars, and historically some have sold for prices above $7,000. Other errors like off-center strikes or missing cladding can be worth more than face value. But even the most dramatic error coins for 1990 quarters rarely reach into the hundreds of thousands, let alone millions. Coins value the truth about million-dollar claims now. Let's talk about the million-dollar myth. You may have seen videos, blogs, or social posts claiming a 1990 Washington quarter is worth $1.2 million or more. These sensational claims are almost always misleading or based on hypothetical error combinations that have never been authenticated or sold for that kind of money. There is currently no credible record of a 1990 Washington quarter selling at auction for anywhere near $1 million. The most valuable authenticated sales for this date are in the low thousands for top-graded or rare error specimens. If someone genuinely had a coin worth over $1 million, it would be widely documented by major auction houses like Heritage or Stack's Bowers and by professional coin grading companies. Coins value. How to evaluate your coin. If you think you have a valuable 1990 quarter, the first step is to examine the condition closely. Coins that look nearly new and have strong details are candidates for professional grading. Avoid cleaning any potential collectible coin yourself, because improper cleaning can significantly lower its value. Instead, consider submitting it to a trusted grading service. Even if it doesn't fetch a huge sum, knowing its exact grade can help you understand its value and how sought after it might be by collectors. Conclusion: the 1990 Washington quarter is a fascinating coin because of how common it is and yet how much interest it generates. Most of these coins are worth exactly what the U.S. Mint printed on them, but a small number in superb condition can be collectible and worth hundreds or even thousands. However, claims of them being worth $1.2 million belong firmly in the realm of myth and misinformation. Real coin collecting is about understanding history, rarity, and condition, and if you treat it with care and knowledge, you might uncover something truly special. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1990 Washington quarter, hit the like button, subscribe for more coin content, and let me know in the comments what coin you want us to explore next. If you want, I can also give you eye-catching title and thumbnail text ideas to boost views. Welcome back, coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters. Today we're exploring a coin that many people have seen in their pocket change, but few truly understand: the 1997 Washington quarter. You may have seen videos or articles online claiming this coin is worth huge amounts of money, even as much as $1.5 million. In this video, we're going to dig into the history of the 1997 quarter, find out what it's really worth, explain the myths around its value, and show you how collectors evaluate these coins. History of the Washington quarter. The Washington quarter first entered circulation in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, the coin features Washington's profile on the obverse and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. For decades, this classic design was used on everyday United States coinage, and it became one of the most familiar coins in the country. By 1997, the Washington quarter had long since transitioned away from silver composition. Since 1965, quarters have been produced with a copper and nickel clad, which means they contain no silver, and their melt value is tied to base metals, not precious metals. In 1997, the United States Mint produced Washington quarters in three forms. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of business strike coins, followed closely by the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins intended for collectors. These coins were meant for everyday circulation and for collector sets. Because of the huge mintage numbers and their use in commerce, most 1997 Washington quarters are very common and easy to find. Cointrackers.com +1 circulated coins, and their real worth. If you find a 1997 Washington quarter in your change today that shows wear from use, it's almost certainly worth only its face value of 25 cents. Despite what sensational claims might say online, standard circulated examples of this coin are extremely common and do not command large prices. Even collectors who specialize in modern quarters will pay only minimal amounts for worn examples, usually around face value, or a small premium for coins that look particularly nice despite wear. U.S. coins value when we talk about higher values. We're usually referring to coins that have never been in circulation. These uncirculated coins are graded by professional services on a scale where higher numbers indicate better condition. A 1997 quarter that is pristine and uncirculated might fetch more from a collector than a worn coin, but it still won't break bank records. For example, high-grade coins in perfect condition have been known to sell for a few $1,000s, with one example graded extremely high selling for around $3,500 at auction. These values reflect the rarity of truly flawless modern coins, not some hidden jackpot. U.S. coins value-proof coins and silver-proof varieties in addition to the standard business strike coins. The San Francisco Mint produced proof versions of the 1997 quarter. Proof coins are specially struck with more detailed surfaces and intended for collectors. Some of these proof coins were also issued in sets that include 90% silver versions. The silver-proof quarters have intrinsic metal value because of their composition, and they are more collectible than the ordinary circulating coins. Even so, typical silver-proof examples generally trade at values in the range of a few dollars to a few tens of dollars, depending on condition and collector demand. They do not approach values in the millions. Cointrackers.com +1 error coins and varieties. Some 1997 quarters have mint errors, which can make them more interesting to collectors. Errors include doubled die obverse, where letters appear doubled, off-center strikes where the design is misaligned, wrong planchet errors where the coin is struck on an incorrect metal blank, or missing clad layer errors where part of the outer layers is absent. These error coins can be worth significantly more than face value, and some have sold for hundreds or even over $1,000 depending on rarity and the severity of the error. However, even rare error examples of a 1997 quarter have not been documented selling for anything close to $1 million. Coinidentifier.com +1 The $1 million myth explained now. Let's address the big question. Is a 1997 Washington quarter worth $1.5 million? The short and honest answer is no. There is no credible record or verified sale showing a 1997 quarter ever sold for anywhere near $1.5 million at a reputable auction house or through a professionally documented sale. The most valuable examples that have ever appeared in numismatic auctions have sold for just a few $1,000s, and the majority of high-grade or error coins sell for much less than that. Published auction records show a top price of a few thousand for a high-grade Philadelphia Mint example and under $2,000 for a Denver Mint proof example in superb condition. Claims of million-dollar sales are almost always misinformation or sensationalized content. U.S. coins value. It's important to recognize that coin values are determined by real market transactions, and major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Great Collections, and others document their sales in public records. If a 1997 quarter truly sold for $1 million or more, it would be widely reported in numismatic news and verified by experts. That has simply not happened. How to evaluate your own coins if you think you might have a valuable 1997 quarter? Here are a few tips. First, check the condition. A coin with sharp details, full luster, and no signs of wear is more desirable to collectors. Next, look for clear mint errors that are recognized and documented by coin experts. If you find unusual features, consider having your coin professionally graded and authenticated by trusted services. Professional grading puts a coin in a holder with a certification of its condition, which can make a big difference if you decide to sell or insure it. A rare error or a perfect uncirculated coin can be worth much more than face value. But it's also perfectly normal for most 1997 quarters to be worth just 25 cents. Conclusion: the 1997 Washington quarter is a fascinating piece of modern United States coinage, representing a long history of design and production. While most of these coins are worth their face value, collectors do pay premiums for the very best condition coins or rare era varieties. However, the idea that a 1997 quarter could be worth $1.5 million is simply untrue according to verified auction history. Real coin collecting is about understanding history, rarity, and condition, and if you explore the world of numismatics with care and curiosity, you might uncover surprises that are valuable in their own right. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of the 1997 Washington Quarter, hit like, subscribe for more coin content, and let us know in the comments which coin you'd like us to explore next. If you want thumbnail and title ideas to help boost views for this video, just ask. Welcome back to the channel, coin lovers and treasure hunters. Today we're talking about a coin that almost everyone has seen, but very few truly understand, the 1993 Washington Quarter. You may have seen people online saying this coin can be worth incredible amounts of money, up to $1.1 million. In this video, we're going to break down the real history of the 1993 quarter, what makes some of them more valuable than others, and whether any genuine examples have ever sold for such jaw-dropping prices. History and background. The Washington Quarter was first introduced in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design was created by John Flanagan and quickly became one of the most iconic coins in United States currency. For decades, this design was used with only minor modifications, with Washington's portrait on the front and a heraldic eagle on the back. By 1993, the Washington Quarter was well established as everyday U.S. currency, long after the mint transitioned away from silver composition in 1965. From that point forward, quarters were made from a copper-nickel clad composition, not silver, and the 1993 quarter you find in circulation today is made of those base metals and intended for daily U.S. In 1993, the United States Mint produced massive numbers of quarters. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions more, and the San Francisco Mint struck proof versions for collectors. Because of this huge production, most 1993 quarters you encounter are extremely common and were used in daily commerce for decades around the country. The result is that most of them show wear and tear and are worth only their face value. Common circulated coins and their value. If you find a worn 1993 Washington Quarter in your change, the most likely scenario is that it is worth exactly what is printed on it, 25 cents. These coins were minted by the millions, and most ended up in circulation. Their copper-nickel composition means they have no precious metal content, and their value in everyday circulation remains extremely low. Ordinary quarters from 1993 that have been used in commerce rarely sell for more than $1 or $2 unless they are in unusually high condition or have a clear mint error. Looking at uncirculated coins that have never been used tells a slightly different story. When a 1993 quarter is in pristine, uncirculated condition, collectors will pay more than face value. Coins graded at high mint state levels, especially MS 67 or MS 68, can attract premiums because they are rare survivors with full original luster and sharp details. Some of these high-grade business strike quarters have sold at auction for well over $1,000. With records showing examples selling in the low thousands for exceptional condition coins. These are generally coins that have never seen circulation and have been certified by professional grading services. However, even the highest known auction prices for 1993 business strike quarters do not come close to figures like $1 million. The real upper range for genuine high-grade examples is in the low thousands, not hundreds of thousands or millions. Proof and 90% silver versions. In addition to standard business strike quarters, the San Francisco Mint produced proof versions in 1993. These coins were struck specially for collectors and have a much shinier, more mirror-like finish. A typical clad proof coin from 1993 in high grade might be worth a few dollars to a few dozen dollars, depending on condition and designation. There were also 90% silver-proof quarters made for inclusion in special sets. Those silver proofs have intrinsic metal value because of their silver content, and in high grades they can bring more than ordinary clad coins. Yet, even these silver proofs generally trade in the tens of dollars or a few $100s range for the very best examples. They do not trade for anywhere near $1 million. Rare errors and varieties. Some 1993 quarters have errors that make them more collectible. Common errors include coins struck off center, double die features, or die cracks. These errors happen when something in the minting process goes off, such as a misaligned die or an incorrect feed. Coins with genuine mint errors can be more valuable than normal coins because collectors prize these unusual features, and prices for these error coins can range from a few dollars to a few $100s or more, depending on the visibility and rarity of the error. However, even rare error quarters from 1993 are not typically worth anywhere near the $1 million level that some sensational online claims suggest. The truth about the $1 million claims now. Let's address the biggest question. Is a 1993 Washington quarter really worth $1.1 million? The honest answer is no. There is no credible record of a 1993 Washington quarter ever selling for such an amount at a major auction or through a reputable dealer. Auction records and price guides show that the most valuable 1993 Washington quarters have sold for thousands of dollars for exceptional business strike examples in top grade or for rare proofs. Claims of million-dollar sales are almost always misinformation or exaggeration. In the coin collecting world, genuine high-value sales are documented and widely reported by major coin auction houses and numismatic publications, and no such sale exists for a 1993 quarter at that level. How to evaluate your coin? If you think you might have a valuable 1993 quarter, start by examining it closely. Look at the overall condition and check for wear. A coin that looks almost new and has all of its original detail may be worth more than face value. If you suspect it might be uncirculated or have an error, consider having it professionally graded by a reputable grading service. Professional grading gives collectors and buyers confidence in the authenticity and condition of the coin. But keep in mind that condition and rarity are what drive value, and most 1993 quarters, even rare ones, have realistic values in the range of dollars to a few $1,000s for truly exceptional examples. Conclusion: the 1993 Washington quarter is a fascinating coin because it represents a time when coin collecting and everyday currency intersected. For most people, these coins are worth their face value of 25 cents. But for collectors, high-grade uncirculated examples, attractive proofs, and genuine mint errors can command higher prices, sometimes ranging into the low thousands. However, the idea of a 1993 quarter selling for $1.1 million belongs more to myth than reality. If you treat coin collecting with curiosity and an eye for detail, you might discover something special. Just don't let sensational claims mislead you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1993 Washington quarter and learned something new, hit the like button, subscribe for more coin content, and let me know in the comments what coin you want us to explore next. Welcome back to the channel, coin collectors and history lovers alike. Today we're taking an in-depth look at a coin that many people see every day but few truly understand, the 1996 Washington quarter. If you've ever heard someone claim that this coin is worth staggering amounts like $1.2 million, you're in the right place. In this video, we're going to explore the history of this classic American coin, what it's really worth, why ordinary examples are mostly common, and what rare varieties, if any, could attract serious money from collectors. A brief history of the Washington quarter. The Washington quarter was first issued in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. Designed by John Flanagan, it quickly became one of the most recognizable coins in American currency. For decades, the design remained largely unchanged, with Washington's profile on the front and a heraldic eagle on the reverse. The quarter continued to serve as everyday pocket change for millions of Americans, firmly embedded in both commerce and collecting. Fast forward to 1996. This was long after the U.S. Mint switched away from silver composition in quarters. Since 1965, quarters have been made from a copper-nickel clad with a pure copper core. That means the 1996 Washington quarter contains no precious metals and is primarily valued for its collectible interest rather than melt value. Mintages and types. In 1996, the United States Mint produced three major types of Washington quarters. The Philadelphia Mint struck more than 925 million of these coins. The Denver Mint produced over 906 million, and the San Francisco Mint struck proof versions mainly for collectors. All of these coins were made from the same copper-nickel clad composition and are dated 1996 with a small P, D, or S mint mark to indicate where they were struck, in normal circulated condition. These coins are extremely common. The vast numbers produced mean most 1996 quarters you find in change are worth just 25 cents. Even collectors agree that it takes something special, either exceptional condition or a genuine mint error, to command prices above that basic value. In fact, standard circulated 1996 quarters are worth around face value or just a little more, no matter the mint mark. Common values in standard coins. Let's talk numbers. A typical 1996 Washington quarter in circulated condition, whether from Philadelphia or Denver, generally trades for about 25 cents. That's because there are so many of them and most have been worn by everyday use. Even proofs from the San Francisco Mint are worth only a few dollars in typical condition, without any unusual characteristics. Most collectors will only pay a premium for quarters that are in superior condition, and that premium is usually modest. When you get into uncirculated coins that have never been used, the values start to rise, but not to eye-watering levels. A 1996 quarter graded by a professional service in high mint state could sell for several dollars up to maybe a few hundred, depending on just how perfect it is. Some auction records show specific high-grade examples bringing more than $400, and in rare cases over $1,000 for absolutely pristine specimens. These are coveted by serious collectors because the coins are still technically modern but have survived decades without wear. Error coins and varieties. So what about rare varieties and errors? This is where the most interesting possibilities arise. Some 1996 quarters exhibit minting errors like doubled dies, die cracks, off-center strikes, or clipped planchet errors. These mistakes occur when something goes slightly wrong during the striking process. For example, a doubled die will show doubled letters or design elements because the die was accidentally impressed twice in slightly different positions. These coins can be fascinating to collectors, and depending on the severity and visibility of the error, they can be worth tens or hundreds of dollars. One specific type of error that collectors watch for on 1996 quarters is known as a doubled die obverse behind Washington's ear. These are subtle but can significantly increase interest among collectors when clearly defined. Some rare errors and high-grade uncirculated quarters have historically sold for well above typical values. For instance, a Philadelphia Mint quarter graded MS-68 once sold at auction for several $1,000s because of its exceptional condition. But even with these special cases, prices do not approach millions except in hypothetical or unverified claims. The million-dollar myth. This brings us to the big question. Is a 1996 Washington quarter really worth $1.2 million? The simple answer is no. There is no verified record of a 1996 Washington quarter ever selling for anything close to that amount at a reputable auction. Claims that some versions of this coin are worth such astronomical sums are almost always based on speculation, misinterpretation, or outright misinformation. In the world of coin collecting, auction records are public and documented by major houses and grading services. When a coin truly commands a record price, it becomes widely reported in numismatic circles. The highest known sales for 1996 quarters are significant for their type, but fall far short of the million-dollar mark. Such sensational prices are often repeated online because they generate clicks, but they do not reflect genuine market transactions. How to know what you have if you think you might have a valuable 1996 quarter? Here are a few tips. First, Look at the mint mark and overall condition. A coin in mint state with sharp details and original luster is more collectible than one with worn surfaces. Second, examine it for obvious errors using a magnifying glass or loupe. Finally, if you believe your coin is unusual or in extremely high grade, consider having it professionally graded and authenticated. This will give you confidence and a clearer idea of what it might sell for in a true numismatic market. Conclusion: the 1996 Washington quarter is a fascinating piece of modern coinage. Most examples are worth their face value, and that's fine because it's part of what makes everyday coins interesting. A small number of high-grade or error coins can fetch premiums among collectors, sometimes hundreds or even a few $1,000s. But the legend of a 1996 quarter selling for $1.2 million is just that, a legend. Real coin collecting is about understanding history, rarity, and condition, and if you approach it with knowledge and enthusiasm, you might discover value you never expected. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1996 Washington quarter and learned something new, hit the like button, subscribe for more coin content, and let me know in the comments what coin you want us to explore next. Would you like thumbnail and title ideas to help your video get more views?